Hello, it has been a long time since my last darktable video. I used to try to do a quickie every week. It's been a long time, but I've been doing some things differently, so at least the way I edit is a little bit different from the way I was editing back then. And I decided to do this one because I've been over on Facebook in the Darktable unofficial page, and we've started posting. Somebody will post a raw file, and people will do their interpretations of their edits in Darktable. And I posted this one today, and it's been really fun. I posted it yesterday. It's been really fun. Had a few edits. Been back and forth with this guy for the last hour because he did a really cool. That's straight out of Darktable, and the skin is super cool. So I was talking to him about that, and he did various things unmasked to do that. So I've been playing around with that too. So I thought, why don't I just do a quickie edit of this photo that's already out there and has had some edits. And if you want to edit it, jump into Darktable unofficial and search for me, and you should find this. And there's the raw download link. So this is from a shoot that was just awesome. There were about 5 light scenes. This was the simplest lighting scene, and I've just done so many versions of the whole block, because what I'll often do is I'll do an edit, then I'll clone it to everything, ship it off for proofs. And I've just been... This block was super simple. I mean, let's just clone. Let's show you how it started. Not that one. Yeah, that one. So that is the raw. Super simple lighting. There was a single light off to this side, and a light either. Yep, I think, is that it, or is that her hair? That could even be the light. A light either behind her hitting black paper backdrop, or a light above her shining down and hitting black paper backdrop. It's super simple lighting, just clean and pure. And I did a bunch of scenes. Let me see. Did some fairy scenes, white scene. Then at the end I did this, which is what we're going to work on. And then I added a gel later on, a purple gel, and that was nice too. But this was just the purest one. And this is a treatment that I did first, which is a split tone. But I've just done so many, and working with the group on more ideas has not helped me do less, but here you go. So let's jump into this. First of all, it is very green. It is very not good white balance, and I find this a lot when I've got my camera set to white balance and I'm using my Godoxes. It does come in out of camera at about 6,000 Kelvin, but I know from experience and using my color card that it should be nearer 5,100 or so. So that's about right for white balance. So let's do some quick, let's get this image kind of up to where it should be. Could have done with a little bit more light at the time. Is that on or off? It's off. There we go. So let's just bring the lighting up and the black up so that we get a little bit of each on the face. You can see with comparing that skin to facial skin, the makeup is giving a bit of an orangey, tanny cast. So I'm just going to bring the hue of that down a little bit. That now looks more balanced, maybe a little bit too much. It's about right. Maybe bring the saturation of that down a little bit. So that looks pretty decent. Let's bring the overall saturation up a little bit. Contrast a tiny bit. I'm gonna mess around with contrast a little bit. Let's just first work on the basics. Let's get it cropped, get the overall feel of what I want to do. Crop there. So that's my crop. I want a vignette to simplify over here. But if it fades over to gray to skin, I don't want to gray the skin out, so I don't want to. I want to drop brightness but not saturation. So that is kind of, that's kind of baseline. So I'm gonna do, this is gonna be a darktable only edit. I'm not gonna retouch skin elsewhere, or I'm gonna try to get it out of here looking really good. But I want to also stylize it. So I'm going to soften everything down to the point of see, it's not making any difference, so it's not degrading at all. I'm gonna take this down to the point that I'm just softening that skin out a little bit, which is good right there. And then I'm gonna do something that I've been doing more of, and this is from a video by Harry Durgan, who used to do a bunch of videos, and his videos are super hardcore, like really into the nitty-gritty. But one of the things he did on a video I saw is, I was looking for videos on how to use these blending modes, because I really have no clue, because I'm not a Photoshop person, which is to a great extent where blending modes come from, I think. But so he had a video where he was using the low pass to deal with shadows and highlights. It was a really good video. And instead of using tone curve or using the highlights and shadow module, you got to think of this as, because it's really a blurring module, think of it as blurring the graduations between your highlights and your shadows, and it gives just a different effect. It gives a smoother normalization of effect, in a way that's kind of stylized, which I like. So I mean, the extremes are totally weird, but around the center point, you definitely want to take that saturation out of the picture, no pun intended, and then just skirt around this area with the contrast. I almost look at it as, this is the amount of effect you want, and this is the volume of the effect that you want to apply. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to describe, but what I like about it is, in terms of look, if you have never checked out Sean Archer, you should check out Sean Archer. If you like portraits, Sean Archer's aesthetic is just insane. So the way I describe him when I'm shooting to a model, or when I'm trying to describe it as a concept, it's like he takes a beauty shot and he adds a punch of edit and a punch of, whether it's off the shoulder strap or whether it's, he's just like, he takes a beauty shot and he adds like a tiny twist of a glamour element, but keeps his beauty shot, and has these stunning edits. Now he really goes towards the greeny cast, which I've just taken out of mine because it's just not my thing. I'm more a cooler, bluer cast, but there you go. So there's something about using the low pass that that moves towards his kind of style of graduation of brightness. So I'm going to go with that. I might, maybe that's a little bit too brutal, because I want to keep things sharp, because I'm going to do whatever his name is did over here. We went back and forth. N/James Elvis Njero. I butchered that, no doubt. But after he posted that, I started playing around over here with like taking where the skin is and getting the skin to where I want it to be, and then just drawing on in some areas to apply that with a nice big feather, and then even going into detail. And it's pretty amazing what that does without, of course, impacting the eyes. Now I used to do stuff, what I used to do is maybe I would do this across the whole image, and then I would just do a mask for eyes and hair and then invert the mask so that it was softening the skin but not softening the eyes. Personally, and I don't think I'm going to change this unless I'm doing some one-off image like this where the goal really is to just use darktable. I'm more likely to do my fairly sequential workflow, which is I get everything the way I wanted in darktable in terms of sharpness, in terms of coloring, in terms of everything except skin retouching, and then I go and then I export a really high quality JPEG from here and I skin retouch elsewhere. And I've got videos on doing that. I do use Portrait Pro very judiciously. And I use GIMP as a final. And even in this shot, even though I can do this, I'll probably would go through GIMP to remove those hairs, some of those flyaways. I love the hair effect across the face, but that would have to go. So that is where I want this image to be. Well, that's one option for this image, but if you watch my stuff, you'll see I've often historically done some kind of split toning using the color correction module, like that. Like that to me is better than that. It's just a richness that is just exceptional. What I haven't done in other videos is play around with the split toning module, which is similar but way more powerful. And even in that default setting, it's pretty, like, that's pretty damn nice. I think what blew me away was playing around with presets. That preset on pretty much everything looks gorgeous. But for this image, I'm going to take this preset, I'm going to take the hue, the color, oh, here applied, I'll see that later. So I'm going to take that, the shadows. So yeah, stuff like this, come join Darktable Unofficial on Facebook. It really is, it's a great little community. It's great for getting answers to questions. We kind of getting to know each other. I think there's some of the Darktable core team on there. So I'm going to go to there, but now I want to bring up, well, what do I want to do with the skin? I really don't know. I maybe don't want to change the skin from where it was. So if I take that saturation off the skin, off the highlights, I'm pretty much taking the skin back to where it was, with just a hint of the purple. So that actually looks like there was purple gel in the room. What I've lost though is my hair color. It's all kind of gone away. So let's be pretty violent about popping that. So I've done... Okay, so I still like my skin. It's not necessarily skin colored, but it does look as if I'm doing it on purpose. So between that change and the split toning, I think I'm getting pretty close now. The last couple of times I've been playing with this image, I've come to a similar kind of place. I've also been playing around with sharpening. In that if you look, these are my favorite modules and they're applied in the order from bottom to top. This key always shows you things the lower down the list. They are earlier in the pixel pipeline, so they happen first. So it's interesting that high pass is way up here at the top, because it means that any softening you do down here, like that softening we did with local contrast, which softened out the skin more than the hair, we can anything we do up past this is after the softening. So for example, it's fairly common to use to highlight, to brighten with the high pass, to sharpen with the high pass. So we've got too much back in the skin, but if we can play around here where we're impacting the skin, I mean impacting the hair and not the skin, at least not drastically impacting the skin. So there we've got some, that eye is popping and the hair is popping and the skin is not deteriorating. So that's worth adding into. So now I don't know if I love this or I hate it. This edit is just kicking my ass. What do you think? Do I want it more? I think I want it more moody in terms of a contrast. So let's go back to, what are our levels? Is that what's doing my head in? No. Yeah, I do like that. But let's go back to, well, what happens if I drop? What happens if I make it less contrasty? That's a look. More contrasty, that's a look. What if I go back to shadows and drop my shadows in here? That I kind of like, but I'm losing the hair again. Okay, what about if I go back to low pass, which is what I've been using for my highlights and shadows, and I play around here, and honestly, I'm still, to a certain extent, this is trial and error rather than experience using this module for this task. So I like where that is going. I like that highlight. This is kind of going almost canvasy to me, but it feels a little bit overexposed now on that highlight. Okay, that I like. Let's do dink dink so that I can come back to that setting in my stack. It's strange, and I don't understand this. If anybody can tell me, like, that is obviously overexposed, right? Oh, yeah, it does. But it feels like with certain modules, they just change where the exposure points kick in. But let's just kick back to a little bit of red. I feel like I've got a little black in the eyeball, do I? Yeah. So let's say there. I do like that. I do like the fall off. I do like the eyes. I could bring that eye up just a touch. Kind of lost our saturation there. If we give it a little bit more. What if we brighten the blueness of the eye up a little bit? Yeah, I think I like that. Do I like it as much as the other ones I've done? I really have no clue, but I'm gonna call it. What do you think? And if you want to have a play with this image, jump into Darktable Unofficial and track down that raw file, or hit me up and I'll publish the raw file. But yeah, there's something, well, that's going to bug me. Let's just take care of that. Let's export this. Let's skip a step. Let's put it straight into where I put GIMP. And that's not where I want to go. Let's do... Where am I? So I'm in the right place. So it should spit out right here. I'm tired. It's winter coming. Winter coming always makes me tired. Let's do... So yeah, there's definitely some healing to be done, but if you haven't used the healing brush in GIMP, check out how ridiculous it is. I can live with most of those. I won't spend your time here because that's going to take a bit of time, but it's totally removable. It's a little bit of skin retouching. Get rid of that hair. Call that good. And just because I can, So I've talked about Tog a little bit. So Tog is my workflow tool that I built. So I've effectively just done the second step of my two-step workflow, so I can tell Tog post step 2, and it's automatically creating resized and Instagram versions, which is nice. And it knows, like, I have this current directory, it's my home/current. It's constantly updated with my current set, so it's easy to move around, but it's creating, it just created that version, turning it into a square for Instagram, and it created a resized version, which is really useful. So yeah, Tog does a bunch of stuff. I think that's all for this video. Now let's look at it compared to all the other ones I've done and see if I still like it. Yeah, I prefer it to that. That's the new one. I prefer it to that. It's very similar to that. Bit more purple. That feels crap now. That feels crap now. That was never much work. That was never much work. Okay, so I think I'm at least going in the right direction with this image. I think I prefer it. That's all I've got today. Keep in touch, like and subscribe, and come join us on Darktable Unofficial. Have a good one.